Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific North. Fresh from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
Sweet, sweet Mariners, baby.
Should be changing to the sweet, sweet Seahawks after their molly whopping, drubbing, insert other aggressive adjective here, boat racing of the Vikings when they came into town. Talk about talk about the home field advantage coming back a little bit this year,
Oh yeah.
right? So plenty to talk about in this game, especially defensively. But before we do that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that is going to mollywop this segment here today about the Seahawks and go all about the defense and a little bit about the offense. That's me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy that might have just learned about some of the terminologies that we're going to be talking about defensively on this episode. We're going to find out. It's Cain.
Yeah, I'm Kate. You can find me over on Twitter, K2406, TikTok, K0614. Also, start posting over there again. Go check it out. Uh, also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Pause. Do it, freaking do it. Yeah, the other day I hit a 507-foot tank with Cal Raleigh and MLB the show, and I posted it to TikTok. It's doing pretty good so far.
Congrats.
Thanks.
That's big news. Not as
Brian
big not as big a
Brian
news.
Brian who pitched 8 innings.
Not as big as news as this. Seahawks get their first shutout in I believe about a decade and
Yep.
shut the Vikings out for the first time I believe in 2 decades
Yes.
this weekend. Um Seahawks win 26-0. Let's break it down by quarter. It's going to be really easy for Minnesota. It's zeros every quarter. Seahawks 0 in the first, 13 in the second, 6 in the third, 7 in the fourth for a grand total of 26. Let's break it down. Second quarter, Jace Myers kicks off the scoring with a 33-yard field goal. That is followed by an Ernest Jones 85-yard interception returned for a touchdown. Half is capped off with a 56-yard field goal by Jason Myers. Going to the third quarter, welcome back, Jason Myers. 54-yard field goal, follow that up with the 40-yarder. And in the fourth quarter, Seahawks could have kicked another field goal, but decided to go for it on fourth down, end up converting. And later on in that drive, you have a 17-yard touchdown run from Zach Chabannet.
Dude, Jason Myers is pretty money.
Yeah. I think he leads the NFL in made field goals this year.
He was money on Sunday. Like everything was dead center.
Yeah, it was. He's been on a tear since the
Yeah.
Rams game, and even in the Rams game, very good day outside of the missed 56, 57 yarder for the game winner. So,
Yeah.
um, but let's go into the offense. The offense, not the best day out there. So
No.
if you loved offensive football, you hated this game. You
Yeah, and
hated it.
and I'm gonna give some credit to the defense of the Vikings. They were all over Sam, what seemed like all game. Brian Flores hinted at it all week. He's like, love Sam, that's my guy, but I'm gonna blitz the heck out of him this weekend.
I mean, Sam Darnold was on that team last year. If
Hmm.
there was a guy that got the best look at him and a team that got the best look at him,
Exactly.
was the Minnesota Vikings, and they did a strong job of pressuring. They ended up sacking him 4 times. One of those was a fumble, but Sam Darnold was 14-26 for 128 yards, no touchdowns in this game. And what the Vikings did very well too is they got up at the right time and batted quite a few balls down.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Definitely a game that you kind of expected a little bit of revenge. You have them at home. Sam wants to play well against former team, but it's, like we talked about in the buildup, it's not like very many people on this team just stand out as a stud. Brian
Mhm.
Flores does have that team run around humming. And like I stated, it was going to be a tough outing. They have made it tough on other teams. They have limited yards. And what we said is we needed the running backs to have a good day. We had over 100 yards on the ground. Kudos to the Hawks to grind it out when they needed to.
Mhm.
They didn't need Sam Darnold to do much in this
Exactly.
game to put
And
themselves in a position to win.
it seemed like on top of the blitzes that they were sending, that there just wasn't much time for plays to develop, right? And they did have a pretty good lockdown on that first 5 to 10 yards for the receivers as well. So, you know, the real star will get there. The defense was bananas all day today, or all day yesterday.
Yep, we'll get there. But let's go over to the rushing attack. Kenneth Walker III led the team in yards with 56 on 13 carries. Zach Charbonnet, 14 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. And I know that I usually say my cutoff is double digits, but I'll give Rashid Shaheed one carry, 9 yards.
It was
They've been
really
sprinkling that in, and you've got to find ways to get him the ball. He hasn't been
taken
what
off
we
yet.
anticipated in the
Yes.
passing game, but I will harken this back to a guy that, like Shaheed, does bring an added element to your return game. Seahawks won a Super Bowl with Percy Harvin. Granted, he was hurt most of the year, but where he really made his hay for the team was in the return game.
Yes.
And right now, as much as we don't love it about them not necessarily spreading the ball around as much as we would like, being able to get some of those explosive plays back. Didn't really see it in the Rams games, saw it a little bit in the game against the Titans. Was hoping to see that this week. I hoping to see it next week, but Rashid Shaheed getting the ball in his hands and letting that speed play, they've found a way to get the ball in his hands in the running game at least once a game. And I think his short was like 5 yards, and I
Yep.
think his longest was about 13. So
On
every
net
touch, he's getting
positive.
positive yards.
Yep. Yep. The rushing attack was where they shined this week. And, you
It
know,
got the job done. And that's
yeah.
kind of what I want to say about the offense as a whole. It got the job done. It wasn't pretty, but we had one turnover on sack fumble.
Mhm.
Other than that, played clean. You dominated the time of possession,
Yes.
even with the defense creating a bunch of turnovers against a team that is playing subpar football, especially offensively right now, like the Vikings have been. Being able to win time of possession, being able to move the football and put your team in a position to score points, you're gonna win some games. And the Seahawks have put themselves in that position when the offense hasn't excelled by the defense. But like we said, that's still down the road because we have to talk about the receiving stats. Pacing the Seahawks this week is AJ Barner, 4 catches for 35 yards. Cooper Kupp, 3 catches, 24 yards. JSN, 2 catches for 23 yards. Cody White had a catch for 21. And Kenneth Walker had 3 catches for 18 yards. Everyone else was below the double digit line.
Tell you what, man, Gardner's hands have become mature. I am loving what I've seen out of AJ Barner this year. And the Barner push, the the short little dump off passes, the way he fights for every yard. AJ Barner's gonna become a real threat here. I think once they start to dish it out a little bit better.
Well, and one of the things that I said, especially against a blitz heavy team going in, was you were going to need to utilize your assets in the screen game. They tried a couple of wide receiver screens that were batted down, but in key instances, you had I think you had two tight end screens to AJ Barner, and you had a screen to your running back and Kenneth Walker that both got you first downs in
Yes.
key spots. And JSN wasn't targeted until late. At that point, you kind of didn't need to target him, and they were doing a good job by making sure there were more than one guy on him the whole game. And with the pressure that they were bringing, less time to let those plays develop
Yeah.
where you've seen JSN shine. A lot of these were quick hitters, and that's where you definitely see Barner shine. That's definitely where you see Cooper Kupp shine and Kenneth Walker the third. And then Cody White, all the guy does is, I think he has two catches and he's averaging 40 yards per catch right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
You ready to talk defense? Because boy, am I.
Yeah, let's get to the fun stats.
All right. Top performers.
There's a
Uh,
lot of them.
Ernest Jones, 12 tackles, two passes defended, two interceptions, and one touchdown. You had Spoon, Devin Witherspoon, seven tackles on the day, and a lot of turning guys back and really creating chaos defensively. Drake Thomas, five tackles, one tackle for loss, and a half a sack. You had Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, and Demarcus Lawrence each have one sack. Leonard Williams had one taken off the board due to a defensive penalty where he absolutely slaughtered Max Brosmer. And you had Demarcus Lawrence with a forced fumble as well. Chinonwosu was the person that got the other half of the sack with Drake Thomas. And then you had interceptions by Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant as well. Seahawks force 5 turnovers on the day. And fun stat, the Vikings had, if you subtract the sack yardage, which is what you look at for total offense, from the passing game, the Vikings had 162 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
The Seahawks had a total of 121 yards on interception returns and fumble recovery advancements. Um, that's a difference of 41 total yards that your defense was behind their offense
That's crazy.
on 5 touches.
That's crazy
I was
work.
thinking about that all day and I really wanted to dive into that stat specifically because you had the long touchdown return. You did have get the interception where the dude was darting all over across the field, and Jalen Naylor absolutely put a whop on him to jar the ball loose.
Yeah.
I saw someone on X say, "Well, that's an interesting way for Brosmer to get a first down."
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, this defense humped.
they were they
So
were
good.
pressure in the face. The Vikings
Like
were never able to get the ground game going.
anytime that they got within the 50-yard mark, right? If they were on the Hawk side of the field, they got pushed back into punt range every time
Or they
or
turned
tried to go for it.
or they turned them over.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was no, like, you held Justin Jefferson, arguably one of the greatest receivers in the
I think
game.
he only had like 3 targets on the day. 4. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he
four.
had 4 yards.
Yeah, one catch, 4 yards. I think he only had 3 targets. Brosmer sailed a couple balls, wasn't on target with Jordan Addison.
Addison
Addison had a
hit,
couple of drops.
yeah.
Hawkinson, he kind of sailed a couple for Hawk. It was a tough day all the way around.
I
And
mean,
unfortunately for them, you're starting your third
third
string
string.
quarterback. You are without your starting left tackle, your starting left guard, and they lost their center in the game. Plus, you had Aaron Jones that also got banged up in the game.
Yeah, well, didn't he get banged up on the fumble?
No, it was later in the game.
Because it seemed like when he flopped over after the Demarcus Lawrence hit, It looked like he was slow getting up.
No, Aaron Jones did not come out until the second half, and
Okay.
that was in the first half.
Okay.
So, but overall, the defense was flying. I don't care what the circumstances are to hold a team to 162 yards in any modern era football game is
Insane.
insane.
Yeah. I got playmakers and even offensively, yeah, he sailed a couple, but as you said, Jordan Addison, he got hit in the hands a couple times. And that puts this whole entire thing in a different place if he catches them, right? Because those were 15 plus ish yards getting you down
They're
the
first
field.
downs.
Sure. But as I said before, though, when your defense pushes you out of field goal range, that's crazy. I mean, Brosmer got like a 15-yard sack that made them punt the ball. And also, Michael Dixon, what a fantastic day at the office for
Yeah.
Michael Dixon this week.
To win in the NFL, you need at least two of your units clicking, and their special teams and defense were on fire, and your offense did enough to put you in positions to
Yeah,
score points. Some of that was helped by the defense, but the offense moved the ball into Vikings territory to continue putting points on the board.
yeah. Every punt that I saw, Dixon had him within the 15 of their own end zone.
Yeah, it was a
It's
great day.
crazy.
It
The
was a
one he
great
put on
day.
like the two, that one was nuts, dude. The amount of backspin it got off that first bounce just to like die right there. Crazy.
Well, this one is a little bit tougher, but Kane, who is your offensive player of the week?
I gotta go K9. I just feel like Sharp did get the touchdown. He bounced off a dude who pushed him way outside and he ran all the way in. But it just seemed Kenneth Walker the third in the last couple of weeks has started to take a turn. Like he's taking his job serious again. And
He's been
the
explosive in moments, which is what the
yes,
Seahawks need.
yes,
He's not going to sit there and be lightning in a bottle every play. He's not Jameer Gibbs. He is
no,
not Bijan Robinson, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But for what the Seahawks do, he's a guy that can handle 10 to 17 carries a week, and he can be over 50 yards in those carries,
I
which is
agree.
what the Seahawks need.
Yeah, Coach Ed, who was your offensive player this week?
This was easy. Easy. It's Jason Myers.
That's a pretty good one, actually. Yeah.
Jason Myers was 4 for 4. He had two field goals of over 50 yards, one that was 40 yards, and one for 33. He had a total on those four field goals of 188 yards. That's a lot. That's a lot of distance. And that's usually where you've seen Myers struggle is that 50 plus. And for him to knock in 250 plus in
Dead center.
Seattle, outdoor
Yeah.
stadium, and it's not like the conditions were perfect. It was not super warm out there yesterday. So to be able to do that, it lends me some hope, especially going down the stretch, that you're not going to see the coming up short and right like you saw against the Rams, especially when he's indoors. And he's really built the confidence in, like I think I might have said it before the podcast, I might have said it on this episode, but I think he leads the NFL in made field goals this year.
I think so. So
All right. Who is your defensive player of the week?
I was torn, dude. I was really torn with this pick, but I'm gonna go D Law this week. I just think I'm gonna throw it back to last year when we talked about Spoon in the Cardinals game, right? With all that he did in that game to create what happened. So D Law, it's fourth or first and goal, right? Or was it fourth and goal? Fourth and goal. He comes off the edge and is just Brosmer's dragging him down the field, and as he's dragging him down, underhands it to Ernest Jones for the pick six. Right? Doesn't happen without D Law there. The amount of times that he set the edge, it seemed like in the run game,
Forced the fumble.
forced the fumble,
On that play, that was just a complete effort play. He's getting upfield, gets pushed down. When
gets
Aaron
back
Jones
up.
catches the ball, he's 7 yards behind him. I believe that was Josh Jobe
It
or
was
Spoon on that exterior that forces him back in and slows him up. And Demarcus Lawrence just comes in with a haymaker from hell over the top and knocks
mm-hmm.
that ball loose. And Ty Okada slides in.
Yeah, and it just seemed like he was in the backfield again, causing havoc. I I I wanted to go Ernest Jones because he had such an amazing day, but D Law was just the presence on the D line this week, and I feel like he had the best game. So, Coach Red, who do you have for your defensive player? I think it's a pretty easy choice at this point.
It is a pretty easy choice, but I wanted to look at one stat for you because I believe that it shows it here. He had two quarterback hits. Demarcus Lawrence did, and I think ESPN doesn't track hurries, but I believe he had like 3 or 4 hurries on the day.
He was a menace, dude. This probably was his best game as a Seahawk, and he's had a lot of good games.
He's
He has
had
been
he had a 2 touchdown game.
like DeMarcus Lawrence is just it just seems like he's revitalized his career in Seattle. Who you got for your defensive play?
It's Ernest Jones,
Yeah.
double digit tackles, 2 picks, and 1 touchdown. And I texted you yesterday, and we had talked in the buildup. You had picked Reek as your player of the game. I had
Had a good
given an
game.
honorable mention to Kobe Bryant. I picked Spoon, and I think that your DBs did such a good job at locking down guys on the outside. There was a little help with Brosmer being a tad inconsistent, but it forced them to go over the middle of the field. And that's why you saw 2 interceptions by Ernest Jones. That's why you saw the interception by Kobe Bryant. Reek Woolen wasn't going to the outside. He was cutting back to the middle to make the pick.
Awesome read. Awesome read on that pick, by the way.
Dude, so good. But
Well, hey, he added another person to being reeked.
yep. Sorry, bro. Got reeked, son. Got reeked. But you could have picked a slew of people, and
Yeah.
there wasn't a ton of guys that just racked up the tackles, but
Also, Drake Thomas, when he shot the gap and rocked, I think, Jordan Mason. My God.
it was a fun game to
Gave me
watch.
Earl Thomas vibes,
If
dude.
you like defensive football, this was a great game to watch.
It
If
was
you like
fun.
offensive football, this was the worst game for you to watch.
Also, big shout out to the Carolina Panthers. Thank you.
Thank you. Win puts the Mariners, or not Mariners, Seahawks win loss tied at the top of the division with the Rams, but the Rams do hold the tiebreaker due to the head to head and overall division lead. And you got the 49ers hanging around at 8-4. Toughest division in football right now. And
it is.
The Cardinals have been playing teams better with Jacoby Brissett. They have gotten some wins, and although the Bucks were banged up this week, they were within 3 points in that game as well. So tough division. You've already finished off your 2 wins against the Cardinals. You've lost both games to the Niners and to the Rams, but you get them late in the season, and kind of have a buildup coming right now, right? You're sitting here at 8-3. This week you got the Falcons. Then I believe you've got Indy, Carolina, Rams, and
Indy, Rams, Carolina.
I was just
We
talking
play.
about all the teams that you had
Uh,
left. You've got you've got a little bit of an easier game theoretically coming up in the Falcons before you have a more difficult stretch. The Panthers are playing tough ball. You don't know which team's going to show up week in, week out, but
yeah.
they can play you tough. Indianapolis started strong, starting to fade a little bit. Indiana Jones isn't finding as much gold
Also,
at the end of the
he's
room anymore.
injured right now.
And then you do have the Rams where you play them at home, which I think will be beneficial to the Hawks. And the Hawks have played
Better.
better against the 49ers down at Levi Stadium if we really look at it statistically and historically, where it's kind of been the same thing with the Cardinals when the Cardinals were playing tough competitive games against the Seahawks, where Seahawks would win down in Arizona, but then the Cardinals would come up here and somehow win even when they did not have good teams, right? So
Yes.
the Seahawks have a matchup against a team that is missing a couple of starters. Michael Penix Jr. is out for the rest of the year with a knee injury. Drake London will still be out in this game. You have Kirk Cousins in at quarterback, which it doesn't matter who you're putting at the quarterback position there. You need to go get after them. And I think the Seahawks have the ability they have to make it uncomfortable. The Falcons line is good. They're better at run blocking than they are at pass blocking. And you have a prototypical pocket passer in Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins not going to go scrambling too much for you. And he's a guy that is susceptible to being sacked. You do have a good two-head monster with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier in the running back position. It's it's K9 and Sharp on steroids, mainly more K9 on steroids. I think Sharp could give Algier a run for his money.
Agreed.
And realistically, you've got Kirk Cousins' favorite target right now. It's Kyle Pitts, who has all the athletic talent in the world, and he's finally putting it together by moving the offense more this year than he has in years past. And he has really picked up a lot since Drake London has been out. And Penix and London had a very good connection. And I would say Penix and Pitts had a pretty solid connection. And
I would
he
agree with
has
that.
let that roll into Kirk Cousins because Kirk and him last year did not have the best chemistry.
No. And I mean, statistically this year, Hawks are pretty good against home run hitter running backs, right? I mean, like Bijan can do it all. Don't get me wrong. But as long as you can lock I think if you can lock the outsides down, I think you're in a pretty good spot. Linebackers hit the hole pretty well. Your safeties drop down pretty decently on a run. So
I think that you're really going to need, I wrote down in my notes, make Kirk Cousins beat you, sell out for the run. You need to be
yes,
able to contain this rushing attack. And there have been games. I mean, early on, Christian McCaffrey got started pretty hot in that first game, then cooled as the rest of the game went along. They weren't awesome against Waddle and Gain or Warren and Gainwell with Pittsburgh. But then you looked at like the Kamara game, they were playing from behind early, couldn't really get that going. Um, Cardinals didn't really have any of their top backs available.
yep.
You know, there's been a lot of games where if there was a better running back, the Seahawks were able to jump out to an early lead and
Yeah,
force the other team into a passing attack. I
it kind of
think
seemed
that
like they stopped ETN, and ETN's been pretty solid this year.
they were giving Jacksonville fits all day.
Yeah, so
So I think that you're going to see that translate into this game. And what you're going to look at with the Falcons is they're scoring 20 points a game and they're giving up 23 points a game. This defense is another one of those where your safeties are your big names and your playmakers. They're number 2 and number 3 on tackles. They both have multiple picks, and that's Xavier Watts and Jesse Bates. That's where your strength is. They have AJ Terrell on the outside, who's had his ups and downs. You're really going to need to beat this team by winning in the run game and letting your play action pass set up your passing attack.
Because that's one thing that the Falcons can't do is their pass rush is not good.
It is better than years past. I will say that.
That's
There have
fair.
been multiple stretches where they have had seasons where they're averaging under 2 sacks a game. Through
Yeah.
11 games, they're at 41 sacks. So they're just shy of 4 sacks a game. They don't have one guy that is standing out. They do it in a multitude of ways. And it's kind of what you see with the Seahawks, right? They're not a team that necessarily blitzes a ton. They're able to create some pressure, but I do think that the Seahawks coming off, like we said, after the Rams game, they're gonna come out and say, "Hey, we need to get the confidence built back up in Sam. We need to put him in good positions." I think that the play action pass is going to come into play, which I don't think that they really let eat a ton this week.
They couldn't. They didn't have time to run play action.
Well, they didn't run it that much, if we're being completely honest. And where the Seahawks have been better in play action is when they're doing it under center. When they do it out of the gun, it has not been nearly as effective as
No.
under center. All right. Going into the matchup against Falcons, who do you think will be the offensive player of the week?
My offensive player of the week this week, I'm gonna go K9. I think he's gonna go over 100 yards this week. He kind of has to at this point, right? I feel like we're waiting for that big K9 game to be like, oh, he's back. Oh, he's back. Because like he's on the verge of being back. Just I need a home run game out of him, and I think he can get it done against the Falcons. Coach Red, who's your offensive player this week?
My offensive player, we're just coming off of Thanksgiving, and he didn't really get to eat too much in this game, and I think he's going to be hungry. And it's a guy that's ate a lot all year. It's JSN. I think that this is they're going to shadow safeties over top of him, I believe, but his ability to work the middle of the field, and I think his ability to get over the top, especially if they're able to get the run game going and really utilize play action under center, that's where you see Darnold and JSN really get into a rhythm. They're going to look at him early. They're going to look at him often. They did not look at him that much this week. I think that he's the best statistical wide receiver in the NFL still. Like he's going to get his looks, and this isn't a team that's going to have that instant pressure like you saw against the Vikings. It's going to give Don a little bit more time, and I think that bodes well for JSN to find some creases and get a lot of yak in this game.
Also, honorable mention. Can we get Rashid Shaheed going?
It'd be nice.
It would be very nice to see. It's only gonna be harder when Tory Horton's back. Also, coming into this week, you might have 4 players back off IR.
That would be cool.
Because Jaron Reed looking good, feeling good from what Mike said. Saubert, Jay Love, and is it Derek Young? All
I
coming
think
back this week?
I think that when Derek Young gets back off IR, it's going to be tough for him to have a spot on the team,
Agreed.
unless you're
Agreed.
bumping Cody White.
And I don't know if you are because Cody White has been a great blocker as well. In your return game, you have Cody White stepped in on a return game and looked pretty decent.
Yeah, Derek Young is a little bit spicier.
Sure, but how often? I don't know, man. It is gonna be hard for him to be on this team. But it is cool that you're getting it. Hopefully, 2 starters back this week.
Agreed. All right, who do you got as your defensive player of the week?
Oh, there's so many people to choose from. So many people. I'm gonna give it to Nick this week. I think Nick E-Man Worry. He almost
He's
came
got
away with a pick last week. Hit him in the
he's got
chest.
a potential big matchup with Kyle Pitts. You're talking about two guys that are
Are
super
freaks.
athletes for their position. It's going to be strength on strength, athleticism on athleticism.
Exactly. So give me Nick E-Man Worry this week. I think that this will be the true breakout game. I mean, he's played great all year, and I think the picks are coming. Give me this week for the first pick. He almost came away with it against Brosmer. He's gonna get it away from Kirk. So who's your defensive player this week?
Leonard Williams, the big cat. I mean,
Yes.
the first sack that he had that was negated, um, he ate Max Brosmer's lunch.
Yeah,
Like
he
he
did.
said, "Did you bring leftover Thanksgiving? Because I'm gonna take it."
Yeah, absolutely obliterated him, dude. He's just as a he's like D-Law week in, week out, dude. He's a freak.
He he's D Law with more statistical production.
Yes.
His ability to attack, I think that with D Law and Mafe and Hall and Nwosu all coming from the outside, this opens up a week for you to let Leonard Williams play a little bit more inside, and him and Byron Murphy. It's just unfair when they're both on the interior. Like it's not
Yeah.
fair to interior offensive linemen, and I think that you're going to see
I mean,
Williams moving around that line quite a bit, and he is going to be wrecking.
Byron's starting to turn into a Leonard Williams-esque player. Like I think it because at some point you're going to be able to move Byron around like you do Leonard.
Uh,
Like
not to the same extent.
I think his athleticism will go a long way, even rushing from the outside.
I think his ability to take on multiple blockers and free up your linebackers, and
It's too valuable for sure.
you have a defensive minded head coach and you have a defensive coordinator who has been able to accentuate, and it's part of the reason that Demarcus Lawrence is on this team from his
Oh yeah.
time enjoying playing with Arden Durde. Like you can utilize edge rushers as edge rushers and not move a player off of his absolute strength. I mean,
That's
there are
fair.
people in the NFL. I think I was looking at it. He in Pro Bowl voting, Byron Murphy is number 2 in the NFL right now in Pro Bowl voting for defensive tackles. Like, don't move the guy. Are you going to start moving your Eagles and our interior defensive lineman outside? No.
I just say that at some point in the future, you can see that.
Maybe, but I don't love that idea, and I don't think that you need to do that.
Mhm.
Especially, you look at how much Ernst Jones had 12 tackles. If you don't have Byron Murphy on this team, Ernst Jones doesn't have 12 tackles in this game,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, Drake Thomas doesn't have 5 tackles in this game. You're talking about him shooting a hole. Guess where he's shooting a hole off? Byron Murphy.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So Um, but big week trying to really take this team to the next level
Mhm.
and being able to make that push and take care of the teams that you need to take care of. And this is a team that is pesky, like we talked about last week. If that offense had any semblance, a competent offense, this is a lot closer game.
Mhm.
And you saw them, especially late in that game, being able to not stop the Titans on fourth down. You're going to see the Falcons. They've got nothing to lose, right? Raheem Morris might be coaching for his job at the end of the year. You think they're not going to go try to put a dub on the board? And they have been tough defensively. I mean,
Pesky.
You look at it right there. I told you they score 20 points a game and they're giving up 23.
Mhm. I've also
Seahawks.
had them in fantasy the last couple weeks, and they've been playing pretty well. It's the only
So
reason I know.
they're a solid team that are probably underplaying, and they've had big wins. They've beaten the Bills,
Yep.
right? They've they've taken, I
They
think
battle.
they lost three in a row. They lost a tight one to the Jets this last weekend. And then the previous 2 weeks that they've played, they've taken the Colts to overtime and lost, and the Panthers to overtime and lost. So, solid team. They're tough. And Seahawks need to go take care of business.
Yes, they do.
And you do need to go follow us on social media. You can find me, your boy Coach Red, on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter, K2406, TikTok, K0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Pause, pause, pause. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.